Well, hello there. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Yes, today I have for you yet again another exciting video. And as you can see, the title suggests the Word of Faith Movement Part 2. Let me fix my chair. Yes, the Word of Faith Movement Part 2. A faulty foundation. Faith in faith. Confessing it means possessing it. And the sin of suffering. These are the three things that we are going to look at where the Word of Faith movement is concerned, right? But I know in my previous video I did say that, was it my previous video? I think it was my previous video, which is the part 1, where I said that I have about 7 videos on the Word of Faith movement. When I really went and looked at the material that I have, I realized that it won't take more than 3 videos. So this is part 2. Next week we'll have the part 3, right? The final video on the Word of Faith movement, right? Now, before I even get into what the title suggests, or the subjects that I'm going to cover, the 3 subjects: faith in faith, a faulty foundation, faith in faith, confessing it means possessing it, or the sin of suffering. We're going to look at how it all started before we get into that, right, guys? So, with that being said, let me give a little reading here from you from the book Kingdom of the Cults. It reads thus: the Christian church was first introduced to the Word of Faith teachings through Kenneth E. Hagin, also known as Dad Hagin by those who admire him. He got his doctrines from E.W. Kenyon, an individual who was greatly influenced by the metaphysical mind science cults such as Christian Science, Unity School of Christianity, and Church of Religious Science. Kenyon's interest in the metaphysical cults was intense. In fact, his knowledge of the origins and teachings of these groups was extensive. Some call this link the Kenyon connection. Hagin often referred to Kenyon as a great teacher, but what many Word of Faith followers do not know is that Dad, who is the same Kenneth E. Hagin called Dad, is that Dad actually plagiarized much of what Kenyon wrote. In other words, to take someone else's written material and publish it as one's own, either in whole or in substantial part, Hagin copied what Kenyon wrote without giving him proper credit. It is nearly impossible to find one instance where Hagin credits Kenyon for material copied, often verbatim or word for word, right? This certainly challenges Hagin's integrity and status as a trustworthy man of God. In the works that contain the following passages, Hagin gives no credit to Kenyon. Instead, he passes off what he has written as his own. Hagin has plagiarized so much of Kenyon's literature that only a small portion of it can be quoted in this chapter. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, instead of reading out the things that were written by E.W. Kenyon, of which Kenneth Hagin plagiarized in, so to speak, I'm going to put it on the screen. You would have already seen me show some already, and I'm going to show you the others as much as possible. There are about 5 quotes that is basically pulled and compared by Dr. Walter Martin, the author of this book, right? So I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see it, so I won't waste any time to actually read it out. But it is just for you guys to know, those of you who follow has adapted Word of Faith movement, so that you understand where its origin, where it started from, right? That it was first started from E.W. Kenyon, and then Kenneth E. Hagin copied it. He embraced those teachings from Kenyon, right? Without even giving him credit or what have you. So persons have it that it started from Hagin, but it actually started from Kenyon, right? So now you have a short synopsis of where the Word of Faith movement actually began, right? That it is heavily influenced in cults such as Christian Science and other metaphysical cults which I mentioned already, right, in what I read. Now, with that being said, we are now going to look at the 3 subjects that I pointed out, beginning with the first one, a faulty foundation, which is faith in faith. I've never heard anything about faith in faith until I stumble on the Word of Faith movement. I've never actually heard that, to be honest. Nor have I ever read anything like that in the Bible where it tell you about faith in faith. But nevertheless, let us read and see here what Dr. Walter Martin is saying. Many of the preceding doctrines are linked directly to the mistaken concept that faith is a literal substance, a power force, a tangible force, a conductive force, right? A power force, tangible force, or a conductive force, or a literal force. According to Kenneth E. Hagin, faith is one's own faith. Faith in one's own faith is a secret to getting every desire of the heart. So you have trust in your faith. Have trust in what your faith is able to do, in essence. Now, here's what Kenneth Hagin wrote. Did you ever stop to think about having faith in your own faith? Evidently, God had faith in his faith because he spoke words of faith and they came to pass. Having faith in your words is having faith in your faith. That's what you've got to learn to do to get things from God. Have faith in your faith. God had faith in his own faith, right? So therefore you should do the same and you'll basically get what you want. Now I would have pointed out in part 1 that God cannot have faith. It is absolutely ludicrous and nonsensical to think that God can actually have faith. God don't need to have faith. Whatever he desires, he automatically gets it. So as a result of that, there is no need for him to have any faith. Right? Now let me continue. To deal adequately with the many biblical passages that Word of Faith teachers twist to support their view would take several chapters alone. Consequently, we will examine their misrepresentation and misuse of the 2 verses they apply to the most. We are going to examine their misrepresentation and misuse of the 2 verses they appeal to the most. Hebrews 11 verse 1, right? And Mark 11 verse 22. These passages are important because each one studied carefully actually disproves the very position the faith teachers claim they support. In Christianity in Crisis, a 447-page critique of word faith doctrine, Hank Hanegraaff contends that the movement's entire theology rests on the word substance. It rests on the word substance in Hebrews 11 verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. This is what it reads. The evidence of things not seen. He goes on to explain and then refute their argument. Quote, faith teachers interpret the word substance to mean the basic stuff out of which the universe is made. Faith cannot be rightly understood to mean the building block of the entire universe, since it is never used in that sense in the book of Hebrews, much less the entire Bible. The word translated substance in the KJV is more accurately rendered assurance. See NASB, and I'll put the NASB translation on the screen for you guys to see. Faith is a channel of living trust and assurance which stretches from man to God. True biblical faith is faith in God as opposed to faith in substance, or faith in faith as Hagin puts it. True biblical faith, and he quotes the Greek, pistis in the Greek, encapsulates 3 essential elements: knowledge, agreement, and trust. Greek scholars agree with Hanegraaff. Hypostasis. Greek scholars agree with Hanegraaff. Hypostasis. Oh, sorry, let me repeat that, guys. Greek scholars agree with Hanegraaff. Hypostasis is translated in the NASB as assurance. In the NIV as being sure. Faith provides an inner certainty about things that simply are not open to empirical verification, but are communicated by God's word. Hebrews 11 verse 1. Pistis, which is faith or belief, and related words deal with the relationship established by trust and maintained by trustworthiness. Regarding Mark 11 verse 22, word faith teachers disregard the standard have faith in God translation in favor of an erroneous rendering of the text which reads have the faith of God. Right? Charles Capps writes a more literal translation of Mark 11 verse 22 says have the God kind of faith or faith of God. Capps is partially correct. The literal word for word translation of the Greek used in Mark 11 verse 22, eke pistin theo, is indeed have, open and close bracket, eshet, faith, pistin of God. So have faith of God. What Capps is missing, however, is that the grammatical construction of Mark 11 verse 22 makes theo an objective genitive. This means that the noun, in essence theo, is the object of the action mentioned. In essence, having faith. In other words, God is the object of faith, not the possessor of faith. Hence, a proper, meaningful translation is to have faith in God. By embracing a faulty view of faith, thousands have plunged themselves in a veritable cesspool of false teachings. One doctrine inseparably linked to the belief that faith is a force is positive confession, which maintains that words themselves actually contain the power to change reality, positively or negatively, depending on what kind of words are spoken. When coupled with the faith force, depending on what kind of words are spoken, when coupled with the faith force. Put bluntly, what you say is what you get. And that can never be true, because ultimately it has to be by the will of God. So you can't just say a thing and expect because you say it you're going to get it. No. If it is contrary to the will of God and God's timing, it will only happen if it is God's will, and it will happen in God's time, not your time or according to your will. So that is outrightly false. Right? Now let's look at the next one. Confessing it means possessing it. Word faith celebrity Kenneth Copeland says, what you are saying is exactly what you are getting now. If you are living in poverty and lack and want, change what you are saying. The powerful force of the spiritual world that creates the circumstances around us is controlled by the words of the mouth. Kenneth E. Hagin, who served for many years as Copeland's mentor, echoes his protege. Your right confession will become a reality, and then you will get whatever you need from God. Positively confessing something is the very first step to getting what is wanted. In essence, healing, a new boat, someone to marry, etc. The force of faith coupled with a carefully conceived positive confession is really the only way to produce results, because such methods are what release God's ability to bring about the things desired. God's word conceived in the heart, then formed with the ability to bring up. God's word conceived in the heart, then formed with the tongue and spoken out of the mouth, becomes a spiritual force, releasing the ability of God. The stress placed on correct speaking often leads to some rather interesting instructions on how to make God work. How to make God work, Take good note of that word there. What do you need? Start creating it. Start speaking about it. Start speaking it into being. Speak to your billfold. Say, you big, thick, big fold full of money. Speak to your checkbook. Say, you checkbook, you've never been so prosperous since I owned you. You're just jam full of money. Say to your body, your whole body. Your whole body. Why? You just function so beautifully and so well. Why, body, you never have any problems. You're a strong, healthy body. Or speak to your leg, or speak to your foot, or speak to your neck, or speak to your back. Speak to your wife, speak to your husband, speak to your substances, and speak faith to them to create in them, and to create in them, and God will create what you are speaking. This exhortation, as humorous as it sounds, marks a cruelty that comes through whenever someone in the word of faith movement faces trials. Just as positive words have the power to create positive results, negative words have the power to create negative or bad results. At least to the word of faith followers. Consequently, those suffering have only themselves to blame, say the word of faith teachers. As Frederick K.C. Price says, if you keep talking death, that is what you are going to have. If you keep talking sickness and disease, that is what you are going to have. Because you are going to create the reality of them with your own mouth. This is a divine law. Now let me say this. It doesn't matter how you say you're not sick. If you continue to do things that will actually get you sick, rest assured that you're most definitely is going to become sick. Let me just say that right there, right? I can't say more, but just let me leave it at that, because that alone is a big blunt in what they're actually saying. Right? Now let me read let's look at the last one, the sin of suffering. Those in the Word of Faith movement feel the spoken word is so powerful that individuals can bring tragedy upon themselves without even realizing it. Quote, we live in an environment of our own making, one that we have largely created by our own words. Whether you realize it or not, you frame your world with your words daily. Somebody says, you mean the world that I'm living in right now originated by the words of my mouth? They certainly did, because the Bible says you are snared by the words of your mouth. You are taken by your words. So this is what they'll say, With words you bind things or loose other things. Sometimes you think you are just being honest and you lose the devil against your finances by saying things like, well, we just never can get ahead, or if I ever do get a job, I lose it. You pray the problem. Your heart receives that as being your will and work day and night to bring you into a position where the things you are saying would come to pass. Dr. James Kinnebrew, in his 1988 doctoral dissertation from Mid-America Baptist Theological Seminary, rightly stated, the faith message is perhaps above all else an attempt to harmonize the loving righteousness of an omnipotent God with the evil and suffering that prevail in the world gone awry. Unfortunately, the word faith proponents explain suffering through a convenient appeal to the sovereignty of man. There are no victims, nothing is out of control, and everything can change because those afflicted are calling the shots. As long as someone possesses enough knowledge about what God has promised, says the right words, and have enough faith, all will be taken care of. Bills will get paid, family members will be healed, and money will fall like manna from heaven. One's own words control life. One owns words control life, because words are the most powerful things in the universe. Health, success, happiness, and prosperity are God's will for you when you believe His word to act on it. When you believe His word enough to act on it. In the Word of Faith movement, all suffering is caused by man rather than God. As Frederick K.C. Price says, you are suffering because you are stupid. The only alternative is even worse. If God is running everything, the only alternative is even worse. If God is running everything, He does have things in a mess. The stupidity to which Price refers is expressed either through speaking negative confessions or through not realizing that positive confessions will bring about good things. Kenneth Copeland explained, your tongue is the deciding factor in your life. You have been trained since birth to speak negative, death-dealing words. Unconsciously, in your everyday conversation, you use the words of death, sickness, lack, fear, doubt, and unbelief. That scared me to death. That tickled me to death. I laughed until I thought I would die. And he's giving some examples now, I'm just dying to go. That makes me sick. I'm sick and tired of this mess. I believe I am taking the flu. We just can't afford it. I doubt it. You say these things without even realizing it. When you do, you set in motion negative forces in your life. So this is what Kenneth Copeland is saying, right? So even if you make jokes about sick, death, and so forth, you're basically speaking it on yourself. Satan is painted into the word faith's picture of suffering as simple an adversary who afflicts the ignorant. Like Job, we are the ones who bring about our own problems by the words we speak, according to Copeland. God didn't allow the devil to get on Job. Job allowed the devil to get on Job. All God did was maintain God's confession of faith about that man. He said that man is upright in the earth. But Job himself said he was not upright in the earth. He said, I'm miserable. So it's Job causes on himself, right? Capps also points out that Job's problem were caused by his own words. Job activated Satan by his fear. The thing which I greatly feared is come upon me. And he quotes Job 3, verse 25. Scripture, however, indicates that God indeed allowed Job to be afflicted. The Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on this person. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life. Quoting Job 1 verse 12 and Job 2 verse 6. Furthermore, Job did not acknowledge his misery until after he had been afflicted. See Job 3 verse 1 to 26. Word faith teachers are forced into misrepresenting Job's story because they hold that there is no glory in knuckling down and enduring a trial. In other words, no good whatsoever can come from suffering. Kenneth E. Hagan asserts, you cannot find anywhere in the Bible where God causes these things to happen to teach his people something. And this is completely false. If you look at what the children of Israel went through, the hardship, going through the wilderness for 40 years and so on. And even the New Testament tells you that a lot of us will have to suffer for righteousness' sake. It's a part of the process. But yet still, these word of faith teachers is basically trying to tell us that suffering, hardship and so forth is not an act of God. It doesn't come from God. God doesn't allow it. There's no purpose in God in taking us through the fire and so forth. It is us who basically cause those things on ourselves. You see how unbiblical this word of faith teaching and movement is? With that being said, guys, I'm going to end this video now. Stay tuned next week where we'll have our final video on the word of faith movement. With that being said, bye bye now.